To be honest, I'm going to get plenty of criticism over my lifetime, and it's something that I don't completely.
A flash drive arrived quietly at Kensington Palace that morning, placed on William's private desk inside a plain envelope with no return address. There were no clues about who delivered it, but its presence carried a clear sense of intent. The files contained a carefully organized strategy, mapped out in precise detail. As William reviewed the material, it became clear that the situation was far more serious than expected. According to the documents, this plan had been developing over an extended period and involved sensitive private family matters. Within 3 hours of discovering the drive, William issued instructions that immediately set major developments in motion, altering the Sussex situation entirely. William noticed the envelope at 7:53 a.m., earlier than his usual arrival, though consistent with his tightly managed schedule. The envelope was cream-colored, made from high-quality paper, with only his name printed clearly on the front. His private secretary had no information about its origin, and hallway security footage revealed nothing unusual. The placement suggested insider knowledge, ensuring it would not be missed. William opened it carefully, guided by instincts shaped through years of operating in highly secure environments. Inside the envelope was a single black, unmarked flash drive and a handwritten note on matching cream paper. It contained just one sentence, brief and deliberate, urging William to review information about a private family situation. There was no signature and no explanation, yet the message carried clear urgency. William immediately contacted Palace Security. The device was screened for digital risks before being accessed on any system. Within minutes, the scan confirmed it was safe, with no malicious software or technical concerns affecting Palace operations. What followed was a structured set of files, carefully arranged by date and topic. The main folder outlined a long-term media approach, presented as strategic planning rather than personal correspondence. Among the materials was an email from several months ago, purportedly sent to a senior editor at a major U.S. publication. The materials suggested this was not about casual interviews or public commentary. According to the documents, there was an alleged effort to build long-term personal connections within William's private family circle, positioning an external figure as an alternative source of guidance and media access in the future. The approach appeared calculated, structured, and deliberate. Additional folders outlined similar strategies applied across different household-related situations, adjusted only by timing and development stage. While some sections were less detailed, the overall pattern remained consistent. This was not speculation or brainstorming. The documentation presented a coordinated plan aimed at influence over time. One section, labeled as Implementation Schedule, indicated that steps had already been initiated. The files referenced work with a California-based public relations firm known for reputation management and strategic positioning for high-profile individuals. Budget notes mentioned media monitoring services and analysis of publicly available online activity connected to extended social circles and professional circles. As William reviewed the material, the seriousness became unmistakable. The material suggested a level of planning that felt far more intrusive and deliberate than anything seen before. According to the documents, private family members were analyzed as strategic points of influence, with long-term approaches mapped out in advance. The tone was methodical, treating deeply personal matters as part of a calculated framework. William leaned back from his desk, visibly shaken. He rarely revisited past public tensions or prolonged media narratives surrounding family disagreements. But what he was reading went beyond public commentary. It outlined structured observation, preparation, and timing in a way that felt deeply inappropriate and crossed a clear internal boundary. He immediately made several calls, coordinating a private meeting with senior family members and key staff. While waiting, he reviewed the files again, taking notes and identifying sections he believed required immediate attention. By mid-morning, decisions were already forming. When the group convened, the seriousness was unmistakable. The documents referenced external consultants, including behavioral specialists and media advisors, using corporate-style language to describe relationship cultivation involving restricted access individuals. The most detailed materials focused on a senior future role within the royal structure, describing long-term reputation and media positioning, strategies tied to personal pressures and public expectations. The documents outlined hypothetical scenarios where an external figure could appear supportive through indirect channels, presenting alternative perspectives during moments of stress or uncertainty. The framing emphasized empathy, visibility, and carefully timed public support to build long-term credibility. Additional sections proposed parallel approaches for other private household members, each adjusted to perceived personality traits and public positioning. These strategies emphasized mentorship-style guidance, involvement in charitable or advocacy efforts, and maintaining a supportive public image at all times. The language consistently stressed subtlety and patience, presenting the outreach as encouragement rather than influence. One stated objective was to establish trust and long-term alignment, positioning the external party as a reliable ally. While some plans were less developed due to timing considerations, the overall strategy remained consistent across the files. Particularly concerning was documentation describing extensive monitoring efforts, including paid third-party services that tracked public appearances and gathered information from extended social and professional circles. One entry, identified only as Source 7, referenced significant consulting payments spread over many months for recurring reports. The materials described indirect information gathering through extended social and professional circles, using advanced analysis tools to compile observations not available through official communications. The scope and consistency suggested a highly organized monitoring effort rather than casual awareness. Additional files outlined an alleged review of household decisions, including education paths, public exposure levels, and independence milestones. These factors were analyzed to identify areas of potential sensitivity that could influence future public narratives. Even after layers of planning and documentation, the focus remained fixed on long-term positioning rather than immediate outcomes. One internal memo speculated that maintaining strict privacy over time could lead to public curiosity or frustration later, which outside voices might reframe as limited expression. What caused the greatest concern, however, was a set of professional-style assessments labeled as developmental profiles. Written in clinical language, they went far beyond surface observations, outlining perceived traits and emotional patterns that could be leveraged to build trust or dependence. This did not resemble guidance or concern. The tone felt analytical and procedural, more like a formal assessment than any form of family-oriented planning. As the materials filled multiple screens in William's office, the scale of what they were reviewing became impossible to dismiss. It was clear this could not be addressed through quiet conversations or informal channels. The central question was no longer whether to respond, but how extensive that response needed to be. The documentation framed private family members as strategic subjects, outlining long-term observation and preparation that had gone undetected for many months. That realization fundamentally shifted the atmosphere in the room. William understood that any action would need to be deliberate, thorough, and decisive. Anything less would fall short of protecting private boundaries. What he had not yet realized was that Catherine had already been noticing unusual patterns weeks earlier. At first, the questions seemed harmless. Then, similar inquiries surfaced again in a different setting, this time focused on travel schedules and how absences were managed. Each interaction was polite and surface level, yet unusually detailed. On their own, they could be dismissed. Taken together within a short span, they felt deliberately probing. Catherine's concern deepened when security noted a person appearing near a private residence multiple times over several weeks. Each appearance came with a reasonable explanation, but the repeated presence raised internal alerts. A discreet review later identified the individual as a private investigator offering discreet information services, turning quiet unease into serious concern. Even then, Catherine chose caution. Assumptions were not enough. She needed verifiable facts. Rather than escalating internally, she contacted a trusted security professional with experience in high-level private investigations. Her request was precise: determine whether information gathering was taking place, identify those involved, and document everything clearly. The inquiry lasted several weeks and revealed far more than expected. Multiple individuals were identified collecting information connected to the household using professional methods rather than casual observation. While investigators could not fully map the long-term objectives, the evidence confirmed coordinated activity tied to an external team. What Catherine had not yet shared was a development from just days earlier that she was still processing herself. Investigators uncovered communications suggesting an attempt to recruit someone within the household, allegedly offering significant payment in exchange for ongoing access and private information. That discovery deeply unsettled her. More concerning was the nature of the material being gathered. The reports extended beyond public appearances or casual observations, including details about private routines, internal family dynamics, and personal challenges that should have been known only to a very small, trusted circle. Somehow, those details had been compiled and transmitted abroad. Catherine also learned she had been observed as part of this effort, though secondary to the primary focus. Her daily schedule, professional engagements, and private conversations at events were reportedly documented and analyzed. Any insight into household dynamics was categorized and assessed. As William reviewed the flash drive, Catherine watched emotion move across his face: shock, frustration, and a deep sense of betrayal. The weight of her earlier instincts settled heavily. She knew she could have spoken sooner, even without complete confirmation. When William finally asked whether she had suspected anything before that day, she chose full honesty. She explained everything. His response was complex: frustration that she had stayed silent, balanced by understanding of why she waited. He recognized that she had been quietly assembling verified information strong enough to justify decisive steps. At the same time, it made one fact unmistakable: there was no room left for delay. By mid-morning, an urgent internal meeting was convened in a secured conference room at Kensington Palace, routinely checked and reserved for sensitive matters. William sat at the head of the table as key documents were displayed on surrounding screens. Catherine was beside him. Present were senior aides, security leadership, legal advisors, and liaison representatives responsible for coordination with national security partners. William spoke plainly as the meeting began. He described the situation as a prolonged and coordinated information-gathering effort directed at his private household. This, he emphasized, was not personal disagreement or media planning, but a serious matter that required immediate resolution. The objective over the coming hours was clear: bring the activity to a complete stop and ensure it could not resume. Security leaders reviewed the materials calmly, while legal counsel raised necessary questions about jurisdiction and legal authority, noting that information collection involving public figures can exist in complex legal territory, particularly across international boundaries. William responded by pointing to documented attempts to obtain inside access, questionable financial exchanges, and activity near protected locations that raised clear security and compliance concerns. He instructed the team to identify every viable legal pathway and apply them decisively. Another senior family member emphasized that while legal structure mattered, the broader strategy mattered just as much. William clarified his position without hesitation. The immediate priority was safeguarding privacy and ending unauthorized monitoring. The longer-term aim was to establish firm boundaries and consequences, making it unmistakably clear that intrusive actions towards his household would not be tolerated under any circumstances. Catherine raised an immediate, practical concern, cutting through the tension with calm focus. Any steps taken, she emphasized, had to be handled carefully within the household, ensuring awareness without creating fear or distress. Her priority was maintaining stability while the situation was addressed quietly and responsibly. The private secretary then moved the discussion into formal protocol. He explained that senior leadership would need to be informed before actions could proceed, and that relevant government officials would also require notification if outside cooperation became necessary. Timing, he stressed, was critical. There was brief discussion of broader implications, including how this could affect ongoing family and institutional matters. William responded without hesitation. He stated clearly that notifications would proceed swiftly and that personal considerations would not override the need for firm boundaries. His position was decisive and left no room for ambiguity. The following hours were devoted to building a coordinated response plan, with multiple efforts advancing at once. Legal advisors began preparing formal notices and documentation aimed at immediately halting all unauthorized information activity. The focus was controlled, methodical, and precise, designed to resolve the situation efficiently while reinforcing clear limits going forward. Measures were prepared to prevent any form of contact with William's private household through all possible channels. A civil legal filing followed, citing privacy violations, improper attempts to gain internal access, and documented personal distress. The intent was unmistakable and firmly stated. At the same time, security teams initiated a comprehensive internal review. Every individual referenced in the materials as a potential source was flagged for formal questioning by palace security or relevant authorities. Those connected to internal operations faced immediate removal with no opportunity for reconsideration. Intelligence liaisons also coordinated with national security partners to assess whether broader concerns applied. On the personal side, Catherine took responsibility for handling household communication, ensuring guidance was shared carefully and appropriately, with emphasis on awareness rather than fear. She also offered to brief senior leadership directly, recognizing the emotional weight such information could carry. Her approach was factual and measured, designed to present the situation clearly without personal bias. William accepted the offer with visible relief, understanding that a calm, direct explanation would be essential to ensure the seriousness of the matter was fully understood and addressed without delay. The final phase addressed communication with Harry. William chose to proceed through formal legal channels only, ensuring everything was documented and avoiding any direct or emotional exchange. The letter would outline what had been uncovered, summarize supporting materials, and present a clear set of realities without commentary or interpretation. By early afternoon, the secured meeting finalized a coordinated strategy scheduled to move forward within hours. Legal submissions were timed to align with international court schedules, while security interviews in the UK were prepared to begin immediately. Formal notification to Meghan was scheduled for late afternoon London time, corresponding with early morning in California, limiting opportunities for delay or response. The approach was structured and multi-layered, designed to bring all questioned activities to an immediate halt while establishing firm legal boundaries for the future. The first civil filing was submitted in California during active court hours, outlining privacy-related concerns and improper information practices. As required by law, the filing became part of the public record, a factor the legal team accounted for carefully when drafting precise, evidence-based language. A second filing followed in the UK High Court later that day, requesting a broad injunction. The motion sought to prohibit any further information gathering related to William's private household, restrict indirect contact, and prevent the use of any previously obtained material for public or professional purposes. The UK filing also included data protection requests requiring that any improperly collected private information be formally surrendered and permanently removed. Both legal actions were supported by extensive digital records, independently verified by forensic specialists who confirmed their authenticity and integrity. A third legal step followed, expanding the response further. William's legal team submitted a formal complaint to a U.S. professional oversight body regarding the legal advisors connected to the operation. In parallel, cease and desist notices were issued to multiple individuals and organizations named in the materials. These notices demanded the immediate halt of all activities, confirmation of data removal, and written compliance within a strict timeframe. Each notice made clear that failure to comply would result in separate legal action. One US-based public relations firm received heightened attention after being cited directly in court filings. They were served a detailed notice outlining their documented involvement. Within hours, the firm's legal counsel requested an urgent discussion. During that exchange, the firm denied intentional wrongdoing and described its role as limited. Williams' team, anticipating this response, proposed a structured resolution requiring full disclosure, immediate termination of involvement, and financial restitution. As evening settled in London and morning began in California, the legal process was already moving quickly. Filings were accepted, notices delivered, and responses began to arrive. The strategy was producing immediate effects across multiple channels. The situation became direct when a formally delivered legal letter reached Harry at his California residence late that morning. Expecting routine paperwork, he instead received a carefully structured document outlining recent findings in precise legal terms. It summarized a prolonged period of organized information activity, supported by planning records and verified materials drawn from the flash drive. The letter detailed the legal actions already initiated in multiple jurisdictions and included referenced exhibits documenting communications and strategy discussions. According to later accounts, Harry initially reacted with disbelief, which shifted as he reviewed the attached materials and recognized familiar patterns of media engagement now applied in a far more serious context. He was given a defined timeframe to respond, with clearly outlined options. These ranged from cooperation and clarification of his position to providing supporting information or choosing not to engage, each carrying distinct legal and personal consequences. The message was unmistakable in tone and structure. The situation required an immediate, documented response, and there would be no room for ambiguity or delay. From the outset, one point was unmistakable. William was not seeking discussion, mediation, or any form of private family negotiation. This was a formal legal notice, structured with precise language, fixed timelines, and clearly defined outcomes. Any response from Harry would be formally recorded, preserved for legal purposes, and would permanently shape his future relationship with the institution he came from. There was no flexibility built into the framework, no opportunity to revisit the terms later, reinterpret intentions, or remain on neutral ground. Every clause was written to eliminate ambiguity and require a clear, documented position. One option required Harry to acknowledge unacceptable conduct and distance himself from it in a way that would fundamentally alter his personal life. There were no partial measures or symbolic gestures that would satisfy the requirement. The implications were profound and irreversible. Another path involved refusing cooperation or declining to engage. That choice carried equally final consequences, including permanent separation from his British family and the complete end of institutional ties. No appeals, no reconsideration, and no private resolution would follow. The message was clear and unemotional. Inaction or deflection was itself a decision, and every possible outcome carried lasting consequences that could not be undone. The outcome was stark. Harry faced full estrangement, not because of historic family tension, but due to a documented choice to stand by actions directed at William's private household. A technical option to cooperate existed, but in practice it was highly unlikely unless Harry possessed detailed prior knowledge that few believed he had. Even cooperation carried no promise of reconciliation, only confirmation that refusal would carry consequences. The deadline was intentionally tight. It was designed to remove delay, negotiation, or coordinated response. Harry could not stall or shape a public narrative. He had to decide quickly, based solely on the evidence presented. The pressure was deliberate, forcing a clear position rather than a strategic maneuver or emotional appeal. There was no middle ground, no option to wait, no room for reinterpretation. When Harry shared the letter, Meghan reacted forcefully, disputing the materials and questioning their origin. She characterized the legal action as unfair and motivated by long-standing personal tensions, asserting that any information activity had been defensive in nature. That explanation faced a critical challenge. The materials included direct communications outlining structured plans related to William's household. The language and scope went beyond self-protection and could not easily be reframed. The consequences extended far beyond the immediate moment. By early December, midway through the defined response window, Harry reportedly sought independent legal advice separate from any shared representation. That single step suggested serious internal consideration of the options laid out before him. Whether he would submit a formal response meeting every requirement remained uncertain. What was clear, however, is that his position had become unsustainable. He could no longer exist between two worlds. Remaining aligned with institutional responsibilities while standing beside actions that crossed firm personal boundaries was no longer possible. The ultimatum forced a decisive choice, and the deadline allowed no room for delay. By the time it expired, Harry would either have submitted an acceptable response or, through silence or refusal, accepted permanent separation from long-standing ties. For those who remembered earlier closeness, the situation carried undeniable weight and finality. What made the moment especially stark was the realization that compromise was no longer an option. One path meant choosing institutional family connections. The other meant choosing marriage alone. The belief that time could smooth everything over had collapsed the moment that anonymous envelope was opened and its contents reviewed. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.